Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Massive Impact Challenge. It's crazy that we are on day 5. I can't believe it. It just seems like yesterday that I was even thinking about doing this, and now we're ending it. So it's pretty crazy. But it's been an amazing week. It's been so fun to really see your breakthroughs, to see the things that you're learning about, and be able to hear about that, and to figure out how can you make a massive impact online. I really hope that throughout this week you felt empowered. Like, that's one of my number one goals for this, is that you just feel like, yes, I can do this. I can make a massive impact online. We all start at different points. And I actually did a podcast on this yesterday, but it was just that, like, really when you're comparing yourself, you need to compare to what you've done in the past, and like not necessarily what the ideal is or what other people are doing, because pretty much every time you look at like, oh, the ideal or what other people are doing, then you get sad and you're not happy. And so looks like I am having static again. And so I'm going to switch my mics real quick. So sorry about that, guys. And so, yeah, it's an amazing thing to be able to make an impact online. And I'm grateful that, we can be talking about that throughout this week and have some amazing speakers on. And so without further ado, I'm going to bring on our last speaker, and I'm just really grateful that we have him on. He's actually in a very different time zone, so it's a lot later for him, but he really wanted to be on live. And so make sure you are active and engaged in the chat and letting us know, what we can do for you. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Antony Lo. Hello, Antony.
Hey, how are you,
Thanks so much for joining
Dustin?
the Massive Impact Challenge.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
It's great. So let's dive into your story a little bit. So maybe you can give everyone a little bit of background about you.
Yeah, I'm a physical therapist from Australia. I work at the junction of sports, musculoskeletal, ortho, you call it in America, and women's health, pelvic health. And I have a particular interest in helping women who want to achieve high-level exercise, so high-level impact, high-level field court sports, individual sports, as well as heavy lifting, just because people think that it can't be done, and I disagree.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I think that's awesome. Like, when, I remember, I think I first heard about you from Kim Vopni. So she was in a challenge, and then she, was just telling me like, yeah, Antony, like he kind of came in and like shook things up. Like he like was changing ideas, and that's really, really cool, because I think sometimes we have, things that happen where it's like, oh, like this is always how it's always been. And so that's just how it has to be. But the fact that, like you're saying, is that like, well, you can get back to high impact and you can do these things, I think is really, really cool. What brought you to, pelvic health initially?
Honestly, it was just a part of my first year in after graduating from PT school. So I worked at the public hospital, and we've got universal healthcare system, a public and a private system. And I was working for the public hospital system, and part of my rotations included antenatal clinic, helping out there, and postnatal checks. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Seemed to help people. And there was this one particular story where I got paged to go down to the clinic. The midwife had somebody on the table. She was unable to get off the table, so she's paged me. Here I am, first year out. I've got no idea. And so I go down, do my thing, always remembering that if you've got no idea, just don't do anything that's going to harm people. I did the equivalent of a little bit of gentle rolling and rotation, asked her to stand up. She stood up, ran out the door because she was late to pick up her kids. Midwife is pushing me out the door. And then all of a sudden I'm standing in the hallway thinking, I have no idea what just happened, but that was awesome. And I just wanted to find out more, and combining my skills with, my love of sport, my love of training, my love of all the hard things. And it's just another black hole in my head. So I just wanted to learn about it, and I've been doing it ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. It's awesome to have some of those experiences where it's like, oh wow, like this is the thing that I want to do, and I got to do more about that. That's for me, it's like events, summits, challenges, like that type of stuff is like, after being an entrepreneur for a long time and finally rolling into that and seeing like, oh wow, this is actually really powerful. It's like, cool, let's do it. So, well, that's awesome. So, when I was obviously working with each of our amazing speakers to figure out like the topic, and so what you'd suggest is that we talk about subverting expectations, the essence of doing something different. And so, what kind of made you, or what's kind of the backstory from that topic?
Yeah, look, this is just who I am. It's what I do. I have always been different. For example, I started losing my hair when I was 8 years old. And that was okay. Like, it didn't really phase me. It phased everybody else. It didn't really phase me. I lost all my hair at the age of 14. I've never really fit in anywhere. I grew up in Australia, but my grandparents are from China. My parents, though, they were from the Solomon Islands, but they moved here when they were 13 to go to boarding school. So, I have an Asian look, but I feel very white Australian, but not really fitting in anyway because I'm too Asian to be white. I'm too white to be Asian, and, racism, little things when you're a kid. And then, just never really fitting in anywhere. But my whole life I've been contrarian. Everybody wants to go this way. I want to go that way. And just sitting back and seeing how people do things and realizing that, if I wanted to, for example, make sales, my first job was retail. And so, at school in Australia, you're supposed to go find basically 5 days worth of work for work experience when you're 15, 16. And usually you get given the crappy jobs, right? And I hated that. I hated counting. I went to the equivalent of Radio Shack because that's what I love doing. And I love tech, and any chance that I could talk to somebody else other than counting literally hundreds of little components and little plugs, I got up. I tried to help people. I did whatever I could to not do that. And yeah, what ended up happening was they actually asked me to start working there in a paid capacity. I remember distinctly, they offered me the job. They said, "What do you think?" And I went, "Can I ask my mom?" So it was out of the blue, right? Yeah. I was just bored. So yeah, they offered me a job. I started literally that next week. They just wanted me to start straight away. And ever since then, I've been on a journey of trying to work out what is it that makes me different? What is it that makes what all of us do? Everybody says it's for a different reason, but there are common threads, and I like picking up those threads and putting it together, repackaging it, rearranging it, thinking about it, and asking people to think about it too, because there's a lot of stories that I sit back and see and think, yeah, you tell yourself this story, but it doesn't really make sense if we pick apart what you're actually saying and what you actually believe and what the evidence actually says. So that's it. That's what I want to do. And one of the common threads of what I do as a physical therapist is I give people a different experience to what they currently experience. They may have pain, symptoms, and I can tell you a very fancy story, Dustin, of why I think I help people feel better. The bottom line is that we all assess what they currently do. We do something different. We hope for the different result that they want. And so ultimately we're finding the different that makes a difference. And that's the essence of what we do. And what we're doing is we're subverting expectations, because they have this idea of all the other experiences that they have. And if you really want to stand out, I stand out my whole life. I'm 6'2". I'm a big dude, right? and I'm tall and I'm bald. I'm Asian looking. I have an Australian accent, and I've got a loud voice. I'm just kind of different already. So my whole life has been different, and just trying to find what different looks like in different ways has been what I do.
Mm-hmm. That's really, really cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. The stories, and I think being different, I think, is sometimes we maybe think it's like a problem, right? But also a lot of it comes down to that story, kind of like you're talking about, like the stories that we tell ourselves. And that's certainly something I work on like constantly is just trying to think of, okay, I'm acting this way, but I don't necessarily want to, or like I'm believing this thing, I can't do this, I can't do that. But then I got to like look at what's the story in my head of like, why do I think that, right? And so how do I change that? And what's been kind of some of your experience around that, right? I mean, clearly you've talked about how it's been difficult for you. There's been some struggles because like you are 6'2", you have an Australian accent, just all of that. Like, what's been your secret to kind of changing some of those stories that maybe you've had, in your head?
I think the ultimate thing is that I just own it. Like, I can't really not stand out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, I can complain about it. I can try and make myself small, or I can just go forward. And this is just how it is. This is me. So, the first step to minimizing distress is to own it, to get ahead of any foreseeable problems. For example, I was the skinny kid with bald hair, a bald head at the age of 15, 16, when all the dudes, Steven Seagal, Andre Agassi, all the cool people in the world were long-haired louts, the gangster ponytails. Think of the late 80s, the mid 80s. That was me. I grew up in that time. And so the only people who were bald were neo-Nazis and people with basically cancer undergoing chemo. So people would ask me things like that. Oh, are you okay? So the lovely older people would ask me if I'm okay, if I'm well, and do I need anything? And the other people just picked on me. And so, I remember a source of inspiration is the movie Roxanne. It's based on the story of Cyrano de Bergerac. And, Steve Martin's brilliant. And there's a bar scene where he tells 20-something betters. And I just thought, yes, if people are going to call me Baldy, I want to be able to go, is that really the best that you got? Baldy. And then be able to just come up with better and better and better insults about myself. And it just disarmed people. And you just own being different. There's no point worrying too much about the other stuff because it just creates distress.
Yeah. Do you feel like, that the idea of just like embracing that we're all different, embracing yourself, like, do you feel like that's helped you get to where you're at today?
I think so. I think being contrarian in nature also helps. I just don't believe what people tell me. I just want to see evidence. And then learning what good evidence looks like. That's really, really important to me as well. So, for example, today I was in a meeting and the person put some numbers on a spreadsheet and produced a pie graph. I said, look, I understand what you're doing and I can see why you're doing it. But your baseline assumption is that this marketing funnel is the only way that people buy a course, for example, because I have courses to sell. And it's like, so your graph is meaningless because your baseline assumption is wrong. I can sit here and tell you what the real figures are because I have more access to more information than you do. So, people will try to tell me things and say, okay, but that doesn't make sense because one particular example, right, is that in diastasis, everybody wants you to use transversus abdominis to pull across the the linea alba, where the split is, and they say it's to tension the linea alba. It's like, okay, but you're not allowed to doming, having your tummy bulge out. It's like, hold on a second, this doesn't make sense. Number one, you want me to tension the tummy. Number two, you don't want me to tension the tummy by letting it out. And number three, you don't want me to use the rectus abdominis muscles because, the six-pack muscles. Because why again? You don't want me to use the obliques, even though the transverse abdominis muscles are acting in a very similar way to the obliques. They pull laterally. It just doesn't make sense to me. That's ultimately what it's like. So you have to sit back and just see, does it make sense? Mm-hmm. Quite often it doesn't. We tell ourselves some pretty convincing stories that fall apart at just a little bit of pulling on the threads.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that makes sense. And I think it is important to question things too, to look at that and say, okay, let's make sure this makes sense. And even, if you look at things online, like making an impact online, it's like, well, how do you do it? If we ask 50 different people that have made an impact online, you'd get 50 different answers. And there's not really one right thing. Like it's all kind of like not that like every strategy can work, but pretty much every strategy can work. It's like one of those things that it's a lot of it's about you figuring out what do you really want to do, and then sticking with that. And so I think that's some good advice there too, because you'll see so many ads or just people online saying, hey, you need to do webinars, you need to do workshops, you need to do challenges. We've talked about each of those this week, but really it's ultimately up to you to be able to figure out, okay, this is what I want to dive into, and then that's what you're going to do. But I think especially in the beginning, it can be easy to say, oh, this person said this, so I gotta go do that, and I gotta post on social media, and I gotta do all these things. But then you're like, wait, why? And what's the point? Let's really understand that.
Yeah, and it's a great way to burn out, because now you're coulda, woulda, shoulda-ing all the time and just adding burden to your life instead of really chasing what you want to do. Understanding who you are and why you are that way, understanding your beliefs, your attitudes, meaning, stories, your biases and assumptions. Actively seeking to break your assumptions, break your biases. These are not skills that are taught to us very well at school or university. So, you've got to get out there and you've got to learn how to do that. And like you said, you ask 50 different people, they'll tell you 50 different things. But ultimately, everybody believes their own story. For example, I'm here telling you that it's because I'm different. That's why I stand out or make a massive impact. I don't even think it's that massive. I just happen to be massive physically. So, maybe it's not that. Maybe it's because I'm a guy in a pelvic health land. That's different. But then that's different, right? To really understand yourself, I think, is that towards motivation. Who am I? Who do I want to work with? And then work towards that. What are my values? Put that through the filter. Who do I want to speak to? It's fine to try and speak to everybody. The thing is that I had to get over myself. Regression to the mean is real. Everybody, if everybody was above average, you all became average, right? So, I really don't think that I'm likely to be that special. So I just do what I do and recognize that I'm the right fit for a lot of people, and I'm not the right fit for a lot of people. And when I'm not the right fit for a lot of people, instead of getting upset and blaming other people for whatever reason that they don't like me, why not just work harder and seek to find somebody else for them, and really try to go out of my way to make sure that they get served and find the right person for them? Because to me, that fits with my values much, much more than the classic blaming the person for why they're not better. For example, if you came and saw me, Dustin, because you had whatever problem it is, and you got better, it's of course because of me. Let me get a testimonial from you. Can you leave a 5-star review? Can you let your friends know that I'm the kind of guy that you want to see? But you don't get better, Dustin. What's the first thing we ask? Did you do your exercises? What did you do? Did you follow the instruction? Like, all of a sudden, it's your fault, Dustin, that you're not better. It can't possibly be me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, that makes sense.
My crap don't stink. As if. Of course it does. Of course it does. So, it's much more authentic, I think, to really live according to your values, and then putting people through the filter that way as well. So your interactions with people, because I listen to people's words, and that really does tell me what they believe, because your words will tell you what you're thinking. People will say, oh, I think this about this, and this topic, but I would never say that to the person. It's like, yeah, but I bet you that person can tell, right? Because you're hiding something from them. I'll never say that I think that, I don't know, that they're an idiot for believing that. It's like, yeah, but you're probably treating them like an idiot, so they feel that anyway. I don't even bother. Have a discussion. Ask better questions.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's so true. That's really good advice for everything in life, I think, so it is really
I call
hard
it sneaky. I call it sneaky PD, sneaky personal development. You think you're coming on one of my courses for professional development, you find out a lot more about yourself and how that relates to how you become the professional that you want to be, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure. I love this, comment that we had come in. So I always like Shakespeare's idea, to thine own self be true. And I think it's important because, especially, I mean, for me, this is one reason that I believe, like, I want to help people online. Like, I want to make an impact in their lives. And I'm not like the one that's just chasing the dollars of like, okay, I want to hit this like revenue level or whatever, just because in the end, for me, that's not fulfilling. Like, if I look back, like, okay, that's cool, but like, did I help anybody? And it's like, if I've helped people, then great. Like, and I know that that's like the income will come when you do that. And so that's why, but again, like, just being yourself is really important, because it then allows you to work with the people that also are going to believe those type of things too. Because that's what's been interesting is, as I'm a believer. I have faith, and so that's something that I talk about. And I've had people come afterwards, after a talk or whatever, like, "Oh, thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate that." And it's, it doesn't necessarily have to be the entire time I'm talking, but just that, like, again, that's just another way that I'm just being true to myself. I'm not gonna like hide that, so I'm just gonna share that openly. And there's gonna be people that are like, "Hey, I really appreciate that." And so being our own selves is really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think one of the best things about living according to your values and your faith is that, you there's no more hiding, right? I still got tons of stuff that I hide. There's a lot of stuff that I'm not proud of. However, I acknowledge it. I call them bars, biases and assumptions, BAAs. And the reason why I call them biases and assumptions is, number one, it's a real thing. But number two, it's because we tend to go find our tribe, right? And if you're not aware of what your bars are, if you're not aware of what your bars are, then you don't really understand why you clumped together with people with similar biases and assumptions. But you've got to find your tribe. I really didn't fit in anywhere, Dustin. So I couldn't find the type of people that I wanted to be around. So I made my own community and just put myself out there. And if you want to be a part of this, come be a part of it. And, you can't find what you want, just go make it.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, tell us a little bit more about your community, because there may be some people interested here in joining that, but then also just kind of, I think it'd be valuable to hear about like what was kind of that process for you of creating that.
Yeah. Look, number one is that I reached peak complexity, right? I had an answer for everything. I had a complicated reason why, and I had a complicated assessment process. I then had a complicated management strategy for which only people who understood the complexity, like me, could really implement to the best of the person's, I don't know, achievement of their goals. Well, the problem is that I was wrong. And it doesn't have to be complex. It was the way that I was taught. And once that started getting challenged, I had to reevaluate everything. And it's a hard process, Dustin. And so, over the course of 3 years, a bit of soul searching, a little bit of trial and error, a little bit of arguing, not just with myself, but with other people online, I began to dismantle and challenge a lot of the beliefs that I held true, that I even held as part of my identity. So anytime ideas got challenged, it felt very personal to me that it was like they were challenging whether I was a good person, whether I was a good physical therapist, whether I was worthy of the success or the results that I was getting. Because, it was like people didn't believe that I'd helped thousands of people because they were attacking ideas. They weren't attacking me. They weren't saying, you are an idiot, Antony. They were saying, this idea does not have a basis in science because the evidence doesn't support it, and it just doesn't make internal sense, internal consistency, it doesn't have it. But when your identity is tied to that idea, it feels very personal. It feels like you're getting attacked. And, a lot of that, I had to divorce from that. It's not easy. But being different already, it helped, right? It's like, cool. I can see that now. And just keep rolling on. Yeah. So, in terms of the community, if you've ever done any courses with me, I am the Antiguru. I don't have your answers for you, but I'll take the journey with you. I am not the final authority because I'm not. There's so many great people doing great work out there, and I want to support them all. I present to you evidence-based ideas for which, if you understand the state of the evidence out there, it's not particularly strong because there's always issues. And when you have a profession that's based on inductive reasoning in the research, you're always going to have uncertainty. So you can never really be certain. It's actually part of the reason why smoking took so long to be banned, is because it's difficult to prove a negative. Do you know what I mean? Like it's difficult with inductive reasoning to show causation. And so that's my profession too. And so I will tell you what I think, the reason why something happens. I just don't think it's the only reason why. I try to collect as many stories as possible. The other thing that I do is I openly invite my participants, my teaching assistants, to challenge me, to call me out. If I say something that is inaccurate, if I say something that isn't true to my values, if I say something that is potentially harmful to other people's, unintentionally or even intentionally, call me out. I choose my teaching assistants based on the fact that they feel confident to challenge me. Now, that's something different, right?
Yeah.
Because that is not an expectation. You're used to turning up to a course and having all the teaching assistants familiar with the content and towing the line because it's my content and you will teach it my way. That's not how I do it. That's how I want to subvert expectations right off the bat. I want you to know that my teaching assistants, we have a common core belief about a lot of the concepts that I teach, but the way that they do it is the way that they do it, and the way that they teach it is the way that they teach it. And isn't it better that you learn from many different styles instead of one big 6'2" bald parrot with other usually smaller parrots? Like, yeah, no, that's not what I want, right? And I hear too many stories of people being on a course and being shamed for asking questions or saying, "Is that really true?" Yeah, that's a terrible place to be. So, bottom line, I couldn't find a safe place for people to openly go through the process in a safe and supportive manner. So I created the masterclass so that they could.
Yeah. And so as far as kind of like your community goes, do you have, how is that set up? Do you have kind of like a Facebook group, or do you have some sort of like website that you host things, or how does that look like?
Yeah, so there's many different ways. The safest, I think, community is the masterclass community. So it's a 13-week course. You have about probably up to 10 hours of face-to-face contact if you want. For 13 weeks. It's a lot. Plus there's optional coursework activities, and there's the Facebook group. It is a private group, and it's, newcomers to the place, they tend to be watch and see, whereas the previous participants who are going through again and again and again, they encourage people, and so people test the waters by saying something little and then seeing what that feels like. It's like, actually, that's actually quite nice. And seriously, it's a difficult thing to nurture, and it's a rare thing to find. And so we actively, and when I say we, it's not my group, right? I just happen to facilitate it. We, the community, ensure that it's a safe place. And we ensure that you can be supported and share there without fear of judgment, without fear of shame. And, your professionalism isn't being judged because you have uncertainty. In fact, your professionalism is held in higher esteem because you embrace uncertainty, because honestly, that is what the evidence tells us. We just don't know a lot about why we help people. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. And I think that I love just what you said too, that it's like, it's not my community, but like, it's like we, the community, is that this is what we do, so, which I think is really powerful when everyone feels like this is theirs, and so it's not
Absolutely.
like, this is Antony's group, like, this is what we're all about. And then, people take ownership almost of that too. Like, hey, this is how we do things. And Antony's obviously helping lead these ideas and that type of stuff, but we all kind of believe similar things. So that's why we're here. So it's really cool. And it looks like a lot of comments coming in about, teaching and that the principles that you shared there too, which I think are really good. And I do just want to follow up with that really quickly too, is with the, you mentioned kind of having a core, like a common set of beliefs or, principles, but like how exactly have you, because I guess to me, I'm of the idea that like, okay, if you have some principles that you can teach people and then they can take those and kind of expound upon them or whatever, like how exactly have you done some of that where you've said, okay, this is how I teach the core things to my people, and then allow them, some flexibility to kind of teach how they teach?
Yeah, it's there's certain principles and certain values that we hold true. And so one of them is that we don't want to work in or contribute to a patronizing type of system, a patriarchal system that's set up in a hierarchy. And, you know, I have to be very careful because I had one of those experiences recently as a support person for somebody where you get told to just trust people and you hand over control of your life, your choices, your body, what happens to your body, handing that over to other people. Like that's not the world that I want to live in. If we believe people should be empowered to make their decisions, then we need to see ourselves as consultants and not the authority. You know, we are not the mechanic who has a toolbox that we're going to pull our tools out of. Like, I hate that analogy. I don't think it's true at all, because we're not working on machines. We're working with people. So we don't go around collecting tools. If you come on my course thinking that you're going to learn about, you're gonna learn another tool to put in your toolbox so that when this type of person comes along, then you've got the right tools to help them, like, you're gonna be disappointed. You're coming on my courses because you want to do something different. It's because you know that you can't keep going on this way where you feel like you're taking on their burdens and their suffering and feeling emotionally and physically burnt out. Like, that's just no way to be a professional. That's not supposed to happen that way. And we lose far too many people from the profession that way. So no, you come on the course because you realize it can't be like this. And so the core value, the simplest way that I can say what we do is do something different. It's what we do, and it's the advice that we give. If 3 words are too much for you, Dustin, and I get it, like 3 words is a lot sometimes for people. 2 words, be different, right? And 1 word, well, then different. Because ultimately that's what we do. We assess things to whatever standard that we decide, and then we take them to a different place. We take them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I mean, even that carries the connotation of I'm doing this. No, together, we work together in a shared decision-making process where they experience something different because we encourage something different. You know, people are not paying me $220 an hour to say, yeah, just keep doing the same thing. I'm sure it'll change. Like, that just doesn't happen, right? The quality of the story might be different. I can bend over and pull out some really great stories from back there, but that's all they are, right? They're stories. So I'm just upfront and honest. I had fun today with a friend. She came and she has this particular dislike of a certain treatment technique style. And so, you know, we were mucking around with lifting weights. I said, well, I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that style on you because I know that she doesn't like it, but I know that she'll get a positive experience from it, so that I can make the point that it's actually not the theory about why somebody says that it works. It just might work for other reasons, right? Results don't prove your reasoning. This is the thing that most people have most struggles with. Results do not prove your reasoning. It's the reason why testimonials are banned in Australia and a lot of the Commonwealth countries for physical therapy. It's because results don't prove the quality of the therapist that you're seeing. So, you know, but America. So
yeah, yeah, that's true. No, it's interesting because I was actually in a discussion the other day just about, like, someone was asking, like, well, you know, how, like, I'm not ready to get a business coach, but like, when I do, like, is it okay to ask like how much money they've brought in, or like stuff like that? Like, what should I ask? And like, there was just some different, you know, differing opinions on that. But it's like, you know, a testimonial can be a little bit, you know, like, is that what it really is? Or like what a lot of people were saying is like just using a case study, like that's like the best thing because you can really break it down. But it all, in the end kind of comes down to trust because people can always, make things up too. So, but
Yeah.
That's interesting that they're banned there. Makes sense.
Yeah. And like, there's a comment there about, the research. What does it say? Research to back up what we do. I'm a physiotherapist. I'm a physical therapist. It's been shown to be helpful. The interesting thing is that anything is shown to be helpful over and above doing nothing. So everything is helpful no matter what you do, but none of them are superior to the other. This is for low back pain, for example, the most studied one. And so we can find evidence because we can always confirm our biases. And that's the thing, right? So at the bottom here, so some who are actively lying, are they actively lying or are they actually choosing and cherry picking the things that suit their biases and only promoting those things that suit them and ignoring the others? I agree. That is definitely very frustrating. The problem is, of course, that the research is equivocal and the quality is moderate. There are certain things, though, that have been taken down pretty hard, at least taken down off their pedestal to just average again. And core stability is one of them. And believe me, I come from the land down under. I can core stability with the best of them, and it's just not superior. It's just something different. And the research from even I think it was 2008. It showed that the brain changes. So maybe it's actually a changing of the brain that occurs and not something else, right? So yeah, we can go on and on about this sort of stuff.
Yeah, sure. Well, I do have one, it looks like we do have one quick question for you.
Sure.
As far as this, like reviews aren't legal, do people still pick therapists based on like word of mouth?
Yeah. Yeah, look, word of mouth is always going to be there. But reviews and testimonials, like all of them are subject to, number one, cherry picking, right? Number two, like what if somebody is trying to actively harm your business? Like that's a thing as well. Like I know that there are people who it's a little bit unfair what happens to them through reviews. I have a dentist friend who got sued because he gave a quote on doing dental work to somebody. The person went and he was the second opinion. The person went to the first opinion. Their regular dentist had the work done. Then tried to sue my friend, even though the dentist said, I was the one who did the work. He's got the quote, but there's nothing else. There's no other records because they didn't go back and see them. And still, it made it all the way to court, which is, I think it's just ridiculous, right? So, yeah, there's all sorts of stuff that goes on. And yeah, even though personal experience is one of the lowest forms of evidence, it's still one of the most powerful. So yeah, I do use testimonials in my education business. I don't do it for physiotherapy. Because I'm not allowed to.
Yeah, I think. It is important to share that, and have people, see what has been done or what other people have said, because that's certainly, like you said, it's like one point of one data point essentially, and so
we're social creatures. We word of mouth and sharing and being social is how we interact with each other, and so social proof is what they call it. Social proof is important. So. I can complain about the problems with the quality of evidence that social proof is, or I can just share stories of what might be helpful and why you might want to be a part of this community, why you might want to experience something different, learning a different way, considering things that you thought were indisputable, having having that challenged, or things that you didn't think were true, having that challenged. It's if you're looking for something different, then we are the community for you.
That's really cool. Well, maybe you could tell everybody a little bit just about how do they get into your community. And first of all, I'm assuming the 13-week thing is like just to be different, or most of the time I hear 12 weeks, so it's just kind of funny.
Oh yeah, it started as 12 weeks. The thing is that, well, number one, 12 weeks is great. I love the number 12. It's it's divisible by 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. But I felt like there needed to be a week to end it, and roughly 3 months is also 13 weeks. So and why not, right?
Yeah,
why not? Some notes, some songs will not resolve to the root chord, won't resolve to the 1. So they might leave you on a 2-5, and that's it, instead of resolving. And in the same way, 13 is a prime number, divisible by 1 and 13. So it's a cool number too.
Yeah, it's true. Well, it's like a baker's dozen, right? So a little bonus week in there. So, but yeah, how exactly can people get into that community?
Yeah, look, it's the flagship course of my education company, and we're in the middle of it now. It's week 4. We're about to start week 5 on Sunday afternoon American time. So if people are still interested, you can join in late. It's a fantastic community. I created a foundations course to take people through some of the thinking aspects, and that's online as well. It's a much lower cost course, just to get you started with the thinking side of things, just to see if you like the type of education I provide, because it's okay. You don't have to like what I have, and I'm okay with that. I'll try to help you find the best education that you can. Right. It's not personal. I'm okay with that. So yeah, but if you do want to find that support, then all of my courses do try to provide that. And so we've got some female specific courses, like female athlete specific courses, the female athlete level 1 and level 2. We've got the foundations course. We've got all sorts of courses. I was in a meeting today, and I think I have 13 courses. About 5 of them are brand new to be launched in the next month or so. Cool. So yeah, we got quite a lot going on.
It's a good number. So I don't know if you want to do any more than that, but just kidding.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, I'm creating a number of courses for each of those. So cool. Some of them are quite expensive. Not really. What is expensive, right? The masterclass, for example, works out at something like it's like $15 a week.
Oh, okay.
That's what it works out at.
Yeah,
it's not a lot of money. Not for the quality of work that you're getting, and honestly, the support that I don't know of many other places that are out there. Somebody's asked the question, am I still teaching the Bulletproof courses? Yeah, I'm actually planning one of those in Sydney. Because of COVID, I can't travel. So I'm going to be re-recording the Bulletproof course in Sydney soon. There's just many, many things that we've got going on.
Cool. Yeah, that's really awesome. And I love all the things that you're doing, and that you're continuing to do new things too. And I think that there's, just a lot of value, obviously, in putting that together. And a course is a great way to to leverage the technology, and to be able to say, hey, I'm going to record this and then give this to people, and sometimes maybe drip it out, sometimes not, but just really a great way to help. So
well, somebody said, I just want people to know, because somebody said hi to me, I can't see people's names on the screen that I have in front of me. So I will probably go find the link. Sorry to interrupt you, Dustin.
Oh, no, you're good.
It's obviously somebody that knows me. but I literally have Facebook user.
Yeah.
I can't tell who's who.
So it looks like it's Amy Linden.
Oh, Amy. Vanden Linden. Yeah. Hi, Amy. Yeah. So I'm sorry about that, Amy. I literally, it just says Facebook user.
It's true, it does. So yeah, there's a way to like with Restream, people can like put it like allow basically their name to come up here. So, but it's just like kind of you just have to find the link. So it's a little tricky to do. So, yeah, well, so what I wanted to kind of wrap up with is just what would be your one piece of advice to give our challengers? And I think, I mean, you'd mentioned a few words before, so I'm guessing maybe it's that same thing, but, go ahead and share kind of what is that like piece of advice that you would give to everybody?
Yeah, I have lots of different pieces of advice for people all the time. But for people who are looking to make a massive impact in the community that they're in with the group that they want to work with, honestly, don't worry about what other people are doing. Don't worry about what that person over there is doing. Don't think that you can't do something that's similar. Because even though I've got trusted teaching assistants who, if for whatever reason I couldn't teach, they would be able to step up and teach a course and I would be happy with it. It wouldn't be the same as how I would teach it because I wouldn't ask them to do that. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Don't worry about being different. Just be who you are and be confident that you do a good job. You already help thousands of people. You've helped lots of people in your career already. The reasons why you might have helped them, well, they're subject to debate. So don't place your identity on ideas. Just know that you are worthy of respect and you are worthy of being able to make that difference that you wanted to be a part of. That's why you got into this profession. And so my piece of advice to you is to continue to keep your eyes on the prize, look at the goal and look at the difference that you want to make and keep walking towards that goal. Have a look around for people who are walking towards the same goal and support them because they're not your competition. They're people on the journey with you. So support each other. If you look at my Instagram stories, very rarely is it about what I'm posting. It's usually because it's other people that I'm supporting. Because, maybe I should ask. But I just feel like if I have somewhat of an audience, if I've got more than a few hundred people looking at my stuff, well, then that's great. I want to support other people to get their stuff out there too, because it's not just about me. So stay true to your values, keep your eyes on the prize, walk towards it, and let's support each other in doing that. Instead of seeing each other as competition, fighting for the scraps, there's so much work out there that, if somebody opened up right next door to me doing exactly the same thing, I would celebrate it. I would celebrate it. It wouldn't worry me. So, yeah.
That's cool. And just like, I think what's funny, at least in America, like with car dealerships, is a lot of times when there's one, there's multiple, like there's a bunch around. And they seem to do fine. So, I think a lot of it's the story that we tell ourselves. And so just being, excited about other people and helping them too is really powerful.
Well, it's why you'll find McDonald's and KFC and Burger King and Wendy's, like they're all in the same sort of area because it just makes it easy for people to go to the one place and get what they want. And yeah, it's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. And then part of that's, like you said, having that faith in yourself and that trust that, hey, I can do this and I am making an impact. And just, trying and just being you, because when you're you, then you excel and then you can, again, even if you have someone right next door, it's like you both will have different specialties and different things you can help and hopefully even refer, in different things too. So I think that's really, really powerful.
Yeah. You know, people talk about abundance mentality and scarcity mentality. You know, it's really, really interesting when it comes down to paying bills. It's a lot harder to have an abundance mentality because it's just natural to hold on to what you think you have. But if you never really had it in the first place, what are you holding on to, right? So, yeah, keep walking towards what you want to do and who you want to work with. I think that's definitely the best advice.
Mm-hmm. Well, Antony, thank you so much. I really appreciate you jumping on here, especially being so late for you. But it's just amazing, like just all of everything you do, I just think is awesome. And I think it's just great to all the things you've shared today. And so thank you for that. And I'm sure that we'll have a bunch of people coming on here later too, and just being in awe of all the things that you said and even now too. So thank you for doing that. And everyone just give, Antony a follow and a thank you for coming on here, because it's been super powerful and really good. And so with that too, being last day of the challenge, which kind of makes me cry a little bit, I'm not going to get emotional, but it's crazy. We're on day 5, but just make sure you go and, finish your homework up. You can get that done. I'll go live a little bit later to do a giveaway for Build Your Event Live. So it'll be fun to do that. And I can kind of follow up with everybody too, to make sure you're getting everything done. But thanks again, Antony. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me, Dustin, and I hope I subverted your expectations too. Maybe you weren't sure what you were going to get with me, and hopefully you got something different. So, yeah, it's 1 a.m. It's 1 a.m. over here in Australia, but also we've got very, very little community cases of COVID here, so life looks kind of normal, everyday life, and so, yeah. Just sending my love and care out there for all the people who are doing it rough. Hang in there, and if you ever need to reach out, I just want to share a real quick story.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I've already told you that I'm 6'2", right? So I'm tall.
Yeah.
I already told you that I'm a big dude. Like, I'm not a small man. I told you that I have an Asian-looking features. And I already told you that I'm a physiotherapist. And what's really funny is that when I sold my practice, as you can understand, I'm not allowed to work in the area. So people are like, oh, I didn't realize that you're still working. I heard that you'd gone to Perth. I'd heard that you'd stopped working and seeing people. And I'm thinking, what did the new owners tell people? Because that's certainly not true. But also, it's like, plug it into Google, and they're like, oh, I wouldn't know what to search. And I said, look, big, tall, Asian physio, and Antony, right? 9 out of 10 on the first page of Google. I'm the top 9 out of 10. So being different makes a difference, right? Yeah. So keep finding the different that makes a difference.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. Great advice. So yeah, 9 out of 10. That's amazing. So
thank you.
All right.